and welcome to the new and improved, I like to believe, EurohooPOD, the podcast by Eurohoops. I'm Antonis Strogilakis. I'm joined by my colleague Cesare Milanti and a very special guest to begin this new edition of the EurohooPOD, one of the best American players who ever played in Europe. I like to believe most people will at least agree, one of the best American players who played in Europe this century. All-EuroLeague selection, All-EuroCup selection, Final Four participant, Malcolm Delaney. Hello, Malcolm.
What's up, man? Nice to be here.
Nice to have you. And Malcolm Delaney, who, I don't know, you haven't given us an update, really, this last couple of months. Are you retired? Because this is what we like to ask you. You never officially retired, so I don't know how we should address you. Former player or still player, current player?
I mean, I didn't officially retire. I needed to step away. Like, I mean, I made it clear to everybody that, you know, the last year in Milan, you know, I just needed a break from Europe, and mainly because, you know, I dealt with, I mean, a lot of people know, a lot of people don't, but I dealt with, you know, some injuries in Milan for 2 years that I had to play through. And mentally, it just drained me. So, you know, my second year, you know, I definitely felt a little better, but I just never could get back to myself. But, you know, I was under contract with Milan. And I just tried to do what I could to help the team win, whether it was me being at 100% or, you know, 70%. You know, I changed, you know, my game just to try to help the team out as best as I could. So it wasn't more so about basketball. It was more mental. You know, I just dealing with something for 2 years. It just drained me. Like, I had to literally be the first person in and the last person to leave every day. And it was mainly because of injuries. It wasn't because I could, you know, put up extra shots or work on my game. I literally could barely practice, you know, for 2 years. I think the first year I only played in 9 Italian league games or something like that. Like, you know, I didn't really get to actually work on my game. So, yeah, it just mentally drained me. So I just needed to step away, you know, whether that is me deciding to just stop, period, or not. I haven't really decided, but I just been enjoying my time away.
And you're keeping yourself really busy. I'm seeing some posts you make on Twitter. You're a businessman now. You're a businessman. You have some businesses. So can you give us an update? What's your current work status, your surroundings? What are you occupied with and your business outside of basketball?
Yeah, so I have, you know, the sports bar that I opened up where we just passed 1 year, the 1 year anniversary. So, you know, last year, the first, you know, 6 months, I couldn't play basketball if I wanted to because, you know, I was so focused on, you know, establishing a good business and getting the product right that, you know, all my time went into that. And anybody who knows me, that or whoever played with me or coached me knows you know, when it's in season, you know, it's strictly basketball for me. So I couldn't do both. I couldn't be a businessman and try to, you know, give 100% to a club. It wouldn't be fair. I could have did it, but I felt like that would be selfish. And regardless of what people think, you know, I joke around with fans and stuff like that. Like, when I'm under contract and when I'm locked in, everybody knows, like, basketball is everything for me. So, yeah, the sports bar has taken up a lot of my time, and then just a lot of investments in real estate. You know, I have a real estate company, so just getting all that stuff together. But you know, I prepared myself while I was planning to do what I'm doing now. So if I ever did decide to just stop, I'm fine. Like, my life hasn't changed in over a year after not playing basketball. Like, I'm fine. So I don't have to come play for money, or I don't have to do anything. That's why my decision hasn't been made, because I really don't have to. You know, it's definitely a window of time where, you know, you can sit out and come back and try to play, but you know, I'm not putting that pressure on myself. Like I said, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, you know, paying myself, employing other people, and, you know, just enjoying the process of, you know, building my own brand.
Talking about Malcolm, like the everyday life after 11-year professional basketball career, you know, this gap, like this year gap, what was like, also because you said basketball is life for you, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for me, honestly, it was the most peaceful year I've had. You know, haven't had to argue with fans. Yeah, I haven't. like I said, I don't.
But we
I'm
missed
into
that.
basketball. This is the best of. Honestly, it might be the best part about being away. But no, like it's just the schedule. Leaving the States for 10 months. I have a lot of things going on back home that I couldn't tend to. A lot of stuff with like my brother. It's just a lot that I was able to do over the past year that honestly has not even been 11 years. It's been, I've been playing basketball and sports since I was 5. So I haven't had 2 months off, 3 months off since I was 5 years old. So it's been a long time. But yeah, I'm just enjoying the downtime where I can actually live life without having to worry about waking up for practice or, when I got to report to camp. So it's been a peaceful year for me.
Yeah.
You talked about Twitter. So also because you were really active on Twitter when you were playing, and I get that. I mean, you like to have fun also on this thing. It's also a fun app, except for an informative app. Fans had obviously realized how much time you spend on Twitter, and you were often getting bombarded by messages. Come to our team, come to our team, come to Partizan, bro, come to the Red Star, bro, by Serbian fans, for example. So when did the messages stop, if they ever stop?
I still get them. It's like if I make any comments, and that's why, like, honestly, I haven't really spoke on anything basketball related, because if I do, then the fans just take it out of context. Like somebody can tweet me, and if I respond, I got an article in the Greek papers, or I got an article in the Serbian papers about am I returning, or I just like to joke around. But yeah, like probably towards the end of last season, because everybody still, I started training last year. I was actually close to signing with somebody. And I think just some of those rumors started to get out, and it was, a strong possibility that I was going to come back around like February, March. So, I always get those messages, and then, it kind of died down in the summer just because, I told my agent not to put my name in the market. And then, recently just some stuff had, popped up on Twitter, but nothing really much. I don't really get too many basketball comments because I don't post about basketball. I don't post anything basketball related. So I don't give anybody a reason to comment.
You said that you were close to a team. Can you tell us the team? Maybe?
Baskonia.
Baskonia, right? Interesting. That will mean every EuroLeague. There were also some notable messages by Olympiacos fans, because you talked about the Greek newspapers, also because you played under Georgios Bartzokas at Loco. You have always said the best about him and how well you work together, how he also took the best out of you, how successful, everyone knows this, how successful things with Loco were. And I think the last reply you made was also to Olympiacos fans, right? On Twitter.
Yeah. So, this is the thing, Coach Bartzokas, that's my guy. But, since, maybe I think the Barcelona time, but since I came back to Europe, me and Bartzokas haven't spoke about me playing in Olympiacos. Like, they reached out to me when I left Barcelona, but it was, I didn't talk to him directly. I talked to assistant, and, the proposal just didn't make sense for me. And they didn't make a strong push to get me. So it wasn't, like, that's just, I kind of want to clear that air. Like, it was, it was never a thing. It was a possibility. Like, if I would have talked to Coach Bartzokas, I for sure would have, like, towards the end of my career, or, after the Milan thing, or, even before Milan, if they would have made a stronger push, it was definitely more of a possibility then than it was before. But I didn't talk to Coach Bartzokas, so, I wasn't, after the Barcelona situation, I wasn't going into any situation where it was doubt with somebody wanting me to be on their team. So it never was a thing. Like, we didn't, like I said, I've talked to him, when we played him in passing and exchanged gifts and everything. But as far as actually playing in Olympiacos, me and him haven't had that conversation. So it was never a thing.
Yeah, and we mentioned about that season in Loco with Coach Bartzokas in 15-16. That season, you headlined the EuroLeague first team, and on those teams, the first and second team, there are 7 out of 10 players who are currently retired, or they're on teams who are not on the EuroLeague landscape. Well, there are Teodosic, Decolo, and Vesely who are still there, hooping and being good for their team. So, what do you think about the extension of a professional basketball career for 10, 15 years? How tough is that?
It's very tough, and it's for me, honestly, when I went into it and I played in Europe, I didn't have a goal of playing until I couldn't play no more. So it wasn't like it's different for Europeans. They they usually play long careers. They'll go from playing or being the top player in Europe to just chilling on the bench their last 3 or 4 years, just because of that's just kind of the culture. Is basketball is life. They play until they can't play anymore. And that never was a thing for me. So, seeing them guys play at a high level is good. But it just never was a goal. I think when I went to Europe, once I played in the NBA, it turned to be, my goal was to play 10 years. If I made it past 10 years, then, it was a bonus. But it was like, after 10 years, let me get back and reevaluate, what I want to do. And I think when I left Barcelona, I was at that, trying to decide like what I wanted to do in my career, because I could have easily just stayed home for COVID and tried to get back in the NBA, or went back to China and made a lot of money. But it was just like, okay, like after this year, do I want to stay here and sign 1 year and then go somewhere else, or do I want to try to win a EuroLeague? So it was like that's where it shifted. It was like, okay, after Barcelona, I think we had a team that I think we would have won EuroLeague, but it was like, after that, what am I going to do? And, once, Coach Messina called me and he told me the plans that they were trying to make in Milan, I figured, if I'm going to stay in Europe or if I want to do anything, I made first team already. I know what I can do individually. I just wanted to try to win a EuroLeague. So the longevity is good. You're seeing players like Kyle, you see some of those guys that I actually play with, that are still going. It's good, but it just never was a goal for me.
Yeah, get that.
You talked about your career. First of all, let's say this: that Milano team that you joined in order to win the EuroLeague, it was one shot away from going to the final. To remind it to the people who are not aware of it, was really good team. But let's talk about back to your career and career decisions in general, if you will. Sometimes in your career you gave up money in order to join specific teams. Like, for example, when you joined the Atlanta Hawks, despite having lucrative offers after your All-EuroLeague team year with Loco. Then in 2014, you signed with Loco. It was a different kind of decision. Moving to EuroCup, even though you had offers from EuroLeague clubs like Olympiacos because of financial reasons. In retrospect, and now that many years have passed since then, and you look different at things with a different eye, with a different outlook, is there something during your career that you believe that you could have done or you would have done differently?
Honestly, the only things that I would have done is the year after Munich. I think that was the
2014
LeBron free agent year.
2014.
Yeah, that was before I went to Loco. I would have waited for the NBA. I had an offer from the Rockets that season, and then I went into the offseason, with some NBA momentum, but it was a decision I had to make. It was pretty much, my goal was to be a millionaire by 25. Just saying that, a lot of fans like, oh, he just wanted money, he wanted to do this, but people don't understand how hard it is to get $1 million contract in Europe. So, something me and my agent always talked about was, once you get to the top of Europe, you're going to have to make a decision. And it's going to be, European teams coming in with a lot of money, or, we'll have NBA teams coming after us. And then it'll be the decision for you. So, I was turning 25. Like I was 25 years old, and it was like, okay, this is my goal. My goal was always, okay, I want $1 million per season. And once I get there, then I know, I'm towards the top of Europe. If I'm making $1 million per season at the age of 25, I'm one of the top guards in Europe. And so it came down to I think, I wanted to wait around for Houston, but everybody was waiting around for LeBron. Like, no team would make a decision on anything until LeBron decided what he wanted to do.
Make
And
the
then I had in
decision.
Europe, so I had in Europe, as soon as the season was over, teams were like, look, you got 2 weeks or you got a week. And, once, for me, I always wanted to go with guaranteed, like a guarantee. I could have took a shot and, bet on myself. I would have for sure signed an NBA contract, but I didn't know what I was signing. So, when it's crazy, we played Lokomotiv, I think was our final game in Munich, that EuroLeague season. And when I went there, I was like, damn, like this don't really feel like, typical Russia. Like the fans were really good, which is rare in Russia. Russians don't have fans. The arena was nice. It was like when I went there, it was just like we were joking around about it.
Is a non-Russian city regards to the weather, for example.
Yeah. So we were joking around about it. I'm like, damn, like it was hot. I think it was like it was the end of EuroLeague, so it was hot. I'm like, I probably could play here, but it was joking. Like it was, it was joking. And then when they came back around, it was like, okay, look, they're gonna be EuroCup next year, but for sure they're gonna be EuroLeague the year after. And I seen the team that we had. Like we had a EuroLeague team. We ended up losing, but it was, I don't think we should have easily won EuroCup that year, but we had a EuroLeague team and they had a really big budget. So it was like, do I go sacrifice 1 year, to lock into a 2-year on exactly what I want? Or do I go to, say Olympiacos, the situation there financially, and be a part of a big club. And at that time, I didn't care about being a part of a big club. I honestly wanted to beat the big clubs. Like that was a thing for me in Europe. Like if a team didn't think I was worth what I thought I was worth, I was gonna kill them every time I seen them. That was just like a motivation for me.
Wow.
So it was like, okay, y'all might not see me this year, but next year when I go EuroLeague, y'all gonna have to see me. So that's exactly what happened. We went EuroCup. I actually had I was supposed to go to the Atlanta Hawks after that EuroCup season, but something happened with their draft picks. They didn't get to trade off who they wanted to trade off. So, I was stuck in Loco. And it just ended up being, a good situation for me. But like I said, the teams that didn't want to offer me what I wanted, and it was like Maccabi. Like I remember David Blatt told me I was 1 year away from playing in Maccabi. Like when I left, I think it was, when I left Ukraine, I wanted to play in Maccabi. Like I told my agent, like, look, I want to go to Israel, Maccabi. Like, I want to play in Tel Aviv.
That was the season
David
that
Blatt
Maccabi won the EuroLeague, and 2013, 2014. Yeah.
So he told me I was 1 year away from playing on Maccabi, and I was like, okay, well, y'all gonna have to see me. And it was just like it was stuff like it was motivation like that. But it, at the end of my career, when I did decide, okay, I want to play in a Barcelona or I want to play in these teams, like those teams that couldn't pay me or that weren't that good, it was funny for me for them to try to chase me now, that I was who I was when before I really wanted to play for some of these teams and they just didn't give me the opportunity.
Yeah. Regarding of decisions, this summer, I don't know if you saw it basically, that Kendrick Nunn will be joining Panathinaikos.
Really?
Kendrick Nunn.
You say he's about to?
Yeah, he's joining Panathinaikos. The owner basically announced it on Instagram. He said that he's a member of our team.
When he announced it, what, yesterday?
No, this morning. He made an Instagram live. They beat Olympiacos last night in the Greek derby. And maybe he wanted also to get a gift for the fans, an extra gift. And, the Coach Ataman had said that they are looking for a scoring guard. So Kendrick Nunn probably didn't find what he wanted in the NBA. And there's the European option.
And it's crazy. I heard his name come up in a couple of talks. That's cool.
Olympiacos was also rumored to be interested in him over the summer. But what I would ask you is that Kendrick Nunn is joining a quite big of list of NBAers who are moving to Europe from the last season and onward. Kemba Walker, of course, first and foremost. Jabari Parker, Frank Kaminsky, PJ Dozier, the Ana Gomez brothers. Serge Ibaka, I mean, it seems to me a wave unlike any other we have seen in the past. Why do you think that this is happening now? And if you think that... do you think that it is an anomaly, or do you think a one-thing case, or do you think that we'll see this number of NBAers moving to Europe getting increased in the future?
I think it'll be more because I think, before with NBA players, I think it was a pride thing. It's like, I think a lot of people thought, okay, if I play overseas, I'm just not good enough to play in the NBA. When in reality, the NBA is political. Like, everybody knows how political the NBA is, and especially the guys that, like Kemba, Serge, who actually play deep into the NBA, and they know once your window is closed in the NBA, you can bounce around, but it's not fun to bounce around in the NBA or to sit on the bench in the NBA. I don't care what people think. Like, if Kemba still can play, like, Serge Ibaka can help out an NBA team. But, if, like I said, if they're not being appreciated or somebody actually wants them, then some of those guys actually like to play basketball and they don't care about, the fame and all that stuff. Like, Kemba is a basketball player. Like, he's one of those guys, he just loves playing basketball. So I'm not surprised that, he chose to go to Europe so he can play basketball. It's not, what I'm saying? Like, he made a lot of money in his career. He's going to be fine in Europe. But like I said, some of those guys, I don't know all of them, but the few that I do know, they're all like just happy with playing basketball, actually playing the game. So going to the next best thing, going into a different atmosphere, different environments, and actually being able to play at a high level, I think is not as bad as, what some people think it is. And then, how the NBA is, it's only, 6 or 7 teams that even have a realistic chance of playing for an NBA championship. And everybody else is just playing young guys. So now you kind of eliminate, half of those vets that normally would play because you're replacing them now with some younger guys, two-way players and some of these young draft picks that they just want to develop. So the NBA is kind of different. So it's definitely a better opportunity for them to come over to Europe, and it's actually probably making EuroLeague better.
Yeah, EuroLeague definitely thrives on that. It makes them more relevant for the US crowd that they are, what is this EuroLeague? And they think of it, as you said, they used to think as an inferior league, an inferior product, and now they say, no, we're not like that. We have our competitive brand of basketball, and perhaps some may believe that a deep basketball fan may have more reasons to watch a EuroLeague regular season game than an NBA regular season game, because there are more at stake there.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The EuroLeague regular season is way better than NBA regular season. Besides like, holiday games and stuff like that, like, there's not many rivals in the NBA. And even the rivals in the regular season, you might not know who's even playing that night. It could be people sitting out. Like, EuroLeague, I've never heard of anybody sitting out or resting a EuroLeague game. It's impossible.
No.
Like, it's impossible to do. So
no load management here.
Like I said, it's a different ball game, and that like you said, that's what makes the brand a lot better. But also, a lot of Americans don't understand overseas. They think everything overseas is the same. So they might have a friend that plays in South America and then a friend that plays in EuroLeague, and they think they play against each other. Like, the people in America who don't understand. Yeah, they don't understand. They just say, okay, my friend plays overseas, and they don't know where they play at, or they don't know the difference between EuroLeague and Champions League, or, EuroLeague and China. Like, most Americans they just don't know. So I think now people are starting to understand more about EuroLeague, and especially with, some of the games being broadcasted, on American TV and stuff like that. Like, people actually can see some of these atmospheres.
Okay, so Malcolm, before we talked about, also we mentioned Kyle Hines, and recently became the player with most EuroLeague appearances ever. That's legendary, and also he did that against Olympiacos, which was very cool. And since you had a really great relationship in Milano, can you drive us more into his personality, how he is every day, also off the court and stuff like that? We know Kyle since he's a EuroLeague legend, but give us more stuff,
Yeah, no, biggest thing is he's a huge family guy. So, like him, I think he gets a joy, later in his career, having his kids at the game, having his wife at the game, actually, seeing some of the stuff that, maybe they couldn't remember when they were babies and as younger. Now they're a little bit older, so that now they're starting to understand his kids are in sports a little bit. Like I said, his wife being there. And that kind of translates to, the locker room. Like he's the same way with, you know, everybody in the locker room. Like I never heard him, you know, get into it with a player or, you know, stuff like that. I think everybody respects him for who he is, but he just kind of has that presence in the locker room that, you know, that was honestly one of the main reasons why I signed in Milan. Like when coach told me like, yo, we got a good chance to get Kyle Hines, you know, that on like ultimately was my deciding factor. Once, you know, they said they was getting Kyle, I was like, all right, I'm in, because I knew you know, Kyle wouldn't go anywhere where he didn't think, you know, he could win. And, you know, Kyle was trying to recruit me in Seska for for some years. So this was somebody, you know, I always, you know, thought about playing with. And then when I played against him, he just was always one of those, you know, one of the toughest guys that, you know, you had to face. So yeah, like the day-to-day stuff, he always works hard. He never complains, you know, even with like injuries and stuff like that. Like it's just some of the stuff like you see with Kyle, like at his age, he takes care of his body. Like I said, he never wants to just miss stuff off of rest. He wants to win, and that was kind of one of the things we shared. You know, he was we shared. You know, we was next to each other in the locker room. So whenever I had an issue or whatever, he was the first person to, you know, say something to me. You know, when I was hurt at my lowest, he was the person who had the conversation with me. So you know, for me, I really appreciated, you know, our relationship. But he acts the same way with the top guy and the, you know, the bottom guy on the team. Not the bottom guy, but you know what I'm saying. Like he acts the same with everybody. And I think that's one of the biggest things and why his, you know, his career lasts so long. Because you never heard anything bad about it. And that's because of, you know, how he approaches the game. He mastered his role. He doesn't try to do anything outside of his role. And I think he could have did a lot more, but you know, he's great at what he does. And like I said, he mastered that. And, you know, I'm as happy and I'm glad to see what he's been accomplishing this year. If it's his last year or not, you know, I thought 2 years ago was his last year. So we never know what Kyle's going to do.
Yeah.
Now, Malcolm, we talked about Kyle. There's Kyle Hines, Tyrese Rice, you, to give some examples. There are some players, you know, who had a bit of a similar path. You went undrafted. You made the most out of your careers in Europe. You started low, climbed up to the higher ranks of basketball outside the NBA, got great, lucrative contracts. Given how successful your career has been, what advice do you have to give to US players who just make their European beginnings and begin at a more or less similar point like you did back in the day when you signed in France with Salon?
I think the first thing is you just have to be realistic. You know, it's you know, I think one of the best things about my agent was he kind of, you know, kept me level. You know, some agents go to players and they lie to them, telling them, you know, what kind of contracts they can promise them and what they can do. And I think, you know, some players get more caught up in agents than actually who's going to make the money. Like, and they forget that you have to actually go somewhere and produce and win to make money. So, you know, for any young player, the players who always hit me up that's going to Europe, I tell them, like, first, you got to be ready. Once you get there, you got to be in the best shape out of anybody on the team. Second, you got to be efficient and you got to win. And stay out of the way. Like, don't get in trouble. You know, never get in situations where you losing money or you losing your reputation. Go over there just to play basketball. Like, that's my first 2 years was just basketball. You know, I never did anything. I didn't even play the video game, but I needed something to do to kind of keep my mind off of trying to get back home. And it was just, okay, I'm gonna go to practice, come home, play the game, watch Netflix, back to practice, game. You know, if we had a day off, yeah, we could do something. But I was kind of fortunate to have playing in Shalom because we didn't have anything to do. Like, I couldn't. Even if I wanted to have fun, I couldn't. So it was like, I think that first year kind of got me in the mentality of basketball. And I think that's what kind of translated through my whole career. And that's why, you know, it was the most boring year I've ever had in my life. But as far as basketball, I got a chance to develop. You know, I finally got a chance to play point guard. People seeing that I can do different things. And I actually got to learn and understand European game because I couldn't do nothing else but to play basketball in Shalom. But yeah, for the young guys, man, don't chase the money. You know, if you produce and you win, the money's gonna come. But you have to get into the right situations. And I think now is a little bit more different than when I came in, because it was a lot more money in Europe. And it was spread out. Like, it was, Euro Challenge teams paying $100,000 a month, and it was, something like that. So it's a little bit different now, and you pick wisely where you go. Study the coaches, study the teams before you go there. So you don't be one of those players that's on, Eurobasket or Eurohoops at the end of the season complaining about, money or anything. Like, do your research. Don't just try to come over here and get a job just to say you play overseas. And, just doing your homework and your research on teams is I think, very important.
Yeah, at least in order to, know whether your friends are playing, like Europe, China, South America, whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So to making the final lap of this conversation, we would like to make like a fantasy game with you. Imagine that you're coming back to Europe, okay? And let's say that is not going to happen, but just fantasize about that. Do you have
hopefully not many people will aggregate this, hopefully.
So do you have any teams that you would particularly like to play for? Like, any teams come to your mind?
I mean, honestly, like, to be honest, if I had just a choice on, like, finishing my career, it's only a few teams that I would do it. It would be Milan, Barcelona, Munich,
okay,
or maybe like Olympiacos. Like, and that's kind of like, honestly, towards the end of my career, I didn't want to, like, it was only a few teams that I would play for anyway. So it was like, it wasn't hard for me to make some of the decisions that I made, because after the NBA, there was only 3 or 4 teams that I told my agent, like, I'm not even going here. Like, it was certain places. And it just was because of what I wanted personally with, the lifestyle, where I wanted to live at, the coaches I wanted to play for or would even play for. So it wasn't that hard for me, but, Munich still holds, a special place for me. I would, that would be one of the places, same thing with Barcelona. Like, I think the Barcelona thing ended a lot earlier than I wanted to. And I actually, like, genuinely wanted to retire there. Milan, of course, that was probably my favorite place to be, with Coach Messina and the guys there. I think that was the biggest bond that I built with a group of guys. And then, like I said, like with Coach Bartzokas, that's just one of the only coaches that I would play for. There's not many coaches, that I would play for. And then, like a team like Partizan or something like that. But just to play for like Obradovic, and only because two of my closest friends are playing there, I would love to play with some of those guys. I always wanted to play with Mike James, but I just don't. I don't know.
Another guard at Monaco. You know what people will begin to say. How many?
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I don't even want to go there. But yeah, everybody knows, like, me and Mike's relationship. So it's like, that would have been the person I wanted to play with for sure. Just I never thought about Monaco.
Okay, that's the answer we wanted to get, even though it's fantasy game.
Yeah. So basically, you talked about Mike James, and there was a lot of conversation last year about who will be MVP. Ultimately, it was because between Sasa and Mike. James, Sasa won it, and for me, he rightfully won it because it was the top team in the EuroLeague. Sasa had the best offensive numbers. It was crystal clear for me. Maybe Mike felt he deserved it, but for example. Do you see Mike winning this EuroLeague MVP that he really wants? He never hit it. Do you see him winning it this year?
Oh, he gonna get one. He gonna get one before he's done. I think this year for sure. And it's like, I don't know. It just feels like he's playing with a different type of motivation. It's like, Mike is one of the most disrespected, like, superstar players who ever played in EuroLeague. Like,
sorry to interrupt you.
Like,
why do you think that? I think that many people respect his game. He's always talked about as being one of the most prolific scorers. Everyone talks about how clutch he is. I think that he himself also believes that he feels disrespected. That I don't get it. Why do you feel that? Why do you think that?
So the thing with Mike is, if you look at his past couple of situations, even this summer, you see like some of the stuff that Monaco did with him, and like he's been the best player on his team for the last 7, 8 years, and it's like if anything goes wrong, they blame Mike. Like Mike, everybody knows how Mike plays. He's not just a prolific scorer. Like he can pass too. Like he's one of the most elite passers.
He generates a lot of baskets. Yeah.
But it's just for Americans, like whenever American is and this is rare because people don't see people who can average 20 points a game in EuroLeague. So when you get those guys like that can average 20 points, they forget about everything else they do. And so it's like he's selfish. Just because you don't see it happen that often, they call him selfish. Mike don't really care about what people think about him because he knows like how good he is and he's confident in how good he is. But similar to me, like if a fan says something to me, I know I can make them matter by, responding back to him. Like sometimes Michael just do it. Yeah, like you can't make me mad. Like there's no fan that could sit there and say anything to make me mad. Because at the end of the day, like we wake up tomorrow, we play another game. We, whatever. If you win, they love you. Mike is one of those guys, he really don't care. So sometimes he's going to say whatever he wants to say, and people don't like it. And it's rare because you don't get players like that in Europe because most players are either scared to say something or they're too worried about, what people think about them. And, that's one thing me and Mike never cared about. Like I didn't care. I would much rather go into Panathinaikos and get booed. Like, that for me is like, it's motivation. Some people can't play in those environments. And I think Mike is one of those players that he don't care. Like if a fan says something to him, he gonna say something back. And if they boo him, he can go get 30. Like a lot of players can't do that. And so I think it's just people like they just misunderstand him just because he don't care. Another thing, Mike loves to play basketball. Like he don't care about everything else that people got to say because he knows like at the end of the day, he got to go match up against your point guard. So everybody can say whatever they want about him, but you still gotta go against him. And most of the time, 9 out of 10, he's gonna win the matchup. So it's like people hate players like that they can't say whatever they want to, and they still go out and produce. And that's, like I said, that's rare in Europe because a lot of Americans don't do it. But he's just one of those guys that can do it. Like he can go talk shit and then like go into the game and then do the same thing. And so I think people do understand, like, yeah, Mike is good. He scored a lot of points, but I don't think on a like year-to-year basis that he's as appreciated as he should be. And it's more so because outspoken Americans are like, it's like we're the outcasts in Europe. So it's like, and that's it.
Some of us like you. Thing. We like that Aaron Jackson used to do it a lot. He would answer back to fans on Twitter. Tyrese Rice.
But it's entertainment. It's entertainment stuff. But it's like we're not taking it personal, and we're like, but some fans like they literally 80% of the fans said something to me just because they knew I would say something back.
True.
Like, and then when I said something back, they DM me like, no, I'm a big fan, whatever. They just want reactions. Some players don't interact with people. Some players don't have Instagram or Twitter. So it's like, they don't see it. But when you see somebody like Mike, like he gonna say whatever he want to say.
Yeah.
But he's not being disrespectful to nobody. He's not, being unprofessional. He's just really just saying what he thinks.
Yeah.
It's just not a big thing in Europe. It's just not a...
Yeah, it's just giving his
takes. Yeah, it's just his perspective, but it's just not a thing in Europe. So it just, like I said, I think he'll get the MVP this year. I think he's been shorted a couple years on it just because of, like COVID, because of the stuff that happened in Seska. Like he's had a few seasons where, he was on track to be, possibly the MVP, and it just, got cut short. And it's same with like Shane Larkin, and, it's just unfortunate that things happen. But Mike has just been in that situation where he's got the short end of the stick, but he's still come out successful and on top. So, I mean, it is what it is.
So we got your name for the MVP. Do you have?
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of player like teams in mind for Final Four contention? Like you talked about players get booed with Panathinaikos jersey. There's somebody who's been doing that in Kostas Lukas. Do you see Pana maybe going to the Final Four this season eventually?
I don't want to speak on Panathinaikos. If I say yes, if I say no, they're gonna say I hate them, and to be honest, like I told you before, I haven't watched a Euro. I haven't watched one game, but just looking from what I've been seeing, Barcelona is good. I guess Madrid is always going to be there. Who else? Who else has been really good?
Well, Monaco. You can say Monaco possibly. If they went last year, why not this year as well?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like a team like Monaco, with Mike, they always have.
Do you see Olympiacos returning? Olympiacos without Vezenkov and Slukas, because they seem that they don't have the same, effective offense this year as well.
I think it's gonna be tough. I haven't seen them play yet, so I don't want to say. But just off of what I know, losing those two players is big, and mainly, a vet like Slukas, and then the MVP caliber player every year. That's definitely going to be a big blow for that team. So, maybe not Olympiacos this year. Trying to think who else is good in EuroLeague.
Partizan has the potential. They haven't got the results yet, but they have the team. And what last season people say what would have happened.
They got a better team. I think
if there wasn't the brawl.
I think KP is hurt right now. So I guess when KP gets healthy, his plan there in the playoffs is crazy. So yeah, I would throw Partizan in there too, because if they do get back, that's a tough place to win. Madrid went in there and did that last year, but if that stuff never would have happened, Partizan would have went to the Final Four. It's just, that's my opinion. That I think they would have swept Madrid with KP and in their big plan, and Lesor playing. But like I said, it's just unfortunate incidents that happen you can't control, and that was one of the things. But yeah, that playing there at that home court advantage is just crazy. So yeah, I would go with them too. But I've definitely seen Barcelona, Madrid, and that they're always going to be there. So yeah, I would go with them, and then like a Monaco and Partizan.
Yeah. All right, Cesare, are we good? Because honestly, I feel that we are really good. Malcolm, that was hugely illuminating as always. A pleasure to talk with you. It's not that you talk a lot. We always like when players talk a lot, but it's the things you say. It's always interesting to hear your perspective on things. And I like the fact that even though you are not clearly, as you told us before, you don't exactly follow the games, follow the auction. You have a good opinion about EuroLeague things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be somewhere around here figuring it out. But no, I'll try to start watching some games. But honestly, last year, I completely I unfollowed every sports page. I needed to remove myself from basketball, and that was the difference. This year, just the first month or so of the season, I just been busy. I've literally traveling around 3 cities at least every week or two. So I just haven't been able to catch it. I've just been super busy. But now I think over the next month I'll be a little bit more free. So I'll definitely try to, catch a couple games. And I plan on coming to Europe actually, so I'll definitely make a couple stops. And maybe.
Where are you going to Europe?
I'd have to get to Mykonos. I definitely have to get there.
Mykonos also want to sign you. They always want to sign you. They have sent you so many invitations.
Man, look, if they send a contract, I might sign it. If they can get me a nice place to stay, I'll come live in Mykonos for a couple of months. They give me some. Just said it. They ain't gotta be to pay. Just just find me a nice little vacation home, and then we can talk about it. But no, I definitely got to get there. I talked to Coach Messina. I definitely want to get to Milan for a couple of weeks just to, be around the guys, maybe help them out a little bit.
Really?
And then I plan on to Munich towards the end of the season. I think our team that won the championship, we're doing like a little celebration there.
That's cool.
So I'll definitely be getting down to Munich again. I think it's towards the end of the season. So yeah, I'll definitely be back in Europe this year at some point. I just went to London to watch the Ravens game. I actually was going to go to Milan, but I had to get back home. But I'll be back this year for sure.
I wanted to wrap this up, but you have to tell us something more about this thing with you and Milano and Ettore Messina inviting you to speak to the team. You have to tell us some more details about this, please, because I never heard it. It's news to me.
Yeah, me and Coach stay in contact a lot. We talk about a little bit of everything once we get a chance to talk, and it's about stuff with the team, stuff with the guys. Like I really genuinely love that. Love that club, man. His relationship, whether I've been playing or not, like. He's been a coach that, I've had the best relationship with on and off the court. And then, like I said, those guys that are on the team, and then even guys that, I was with before, like Pangos and Barcelona, like some of those guys that, I've been around. I just think, I told him, I was like, I just want to come be around you guys. And, it's just giving them a different perspective. Sometimes I know how it was playing there. If something is going wrong, a couple games you lose, you kind of want to hear a different perspective. Or, some of the guys that I play with, I know their tendencies. So if something's not going right, I think they rather hear a different voice sometimes. So I told them I just wanted to come and be around the team for a little bit and maybe come out there for a couple weeks. And it's just off of my genuine love for, the city and the club. Like it's not me trying to do anything, me asking him to let me back on the team or anything. Like it was nothing like that. It was just, I seen, they had some struggles, and I just felt like I know they would need a different voice and perspective sometimes, just to be around or just to see a familiar face, because I do think I'm a part of that family.
Malcolm, this has been beautiful. Cesare, I think you agree. It's been amazing.
Yeah. It was inspiring, Malcolm. So thanks for your time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much
Anytime.
for this conversation, Malcolm. As always, a pleasure to talk with you. I wish you good luck in your business ventures, your life. Good luck to your family. I know that you've been through some stuff, tough stuff with your brother. I hope everything is okay with that. I didn't want to ask about this, but I hope everything is going good. Great. And it will be fun to see you in Europe. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for being the first guest of the EurohooPOD this season's edition. And we'll talk to you hopefully some other time too.
All right, cool. Let me know anytime.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. That's it.
Malcolm.
Yeah.
Okay, that was Malcolm Delaney. Cesare, wow, so many things to talk about what Malcolm has told us, really. I don't know who will write the transcript for this. We have to toss a coin or something. Someone will lose a bet. This is how we're going to divide it.
Yeah, sure. And also that thing he said about Messina and Milano is interesting, very interesting, because from Italian perspective, like also everything that is around Milano, the buzz and stuff like that, also having Mirotic this season, Shavon Shields, Pangos, who's not really delivering. It's interesting to see that Messina kind of want him or whatever, like that they have this kind of relationship in which he trusts Malcolm and vice versa. So.
And Malcolm, and he was a member of the team that went to the Final Four. We talked about it. If Kevin Padder shot went in, if Corey Higgins didn't make that shot on the other end, who knows? History would have been completely different. That's basketball. That's moments, details. But speaking of Milano, Cesare, not a very good start in the EuroLeague season so far, right?
Yeah.
They are 1-3. They don't exactly play their best offense. They are second to last, if I'm not mistaken, in points scored per game, despite, once again, having a team that has really, really, really talented offensive players. Since you are following the team really close, as you have done always, what's the explanation behind all of this, in your opinion, and what do they need to do in order to begin getting more wins? Of course, let's say that we're recording this podcast before their game against Maccabi.
Yeah.
And when the podcast is published, they may be 2-3, but the problems are existing, I think, and they need to be addressed, regardless of what happens against Maccabi.
Yeah, like the fact is that Milano struggled last season as well. Of course, we know that. and bringing in a guy like Nikola Mirotic always gives you the kind of push that like people want you in the Final Four, at least in the top of the standings in the EuroLeague. So it's tough to see that a team with Mirotic, with Shields, with Kevin Pangos on board, with Nicolo Melli, despite, of course, his physical condition after the World Cup is not ideal because he played tons of games recently. It's tough to see this kind of team struggling. Like, I don't really know what's the explanation behind it, but I see more and more points distributed only among Shields and Mirotic. At this moment, before the game with Maccabi, they are the only player on Milano roster who's scoring double digits in the EuroLeague. And that's becoming a problem because you know that teams can kind of scout you on that thing. Like they can force you to bad shots with Mirotic and Shields, even though they are very productive scorers. Also, it's tough for Milano not having a guy like Billy Barron who can bring the ball to the other side, who can make shots on his own, with this kind of lack of playmaking that they have right now. Maudolo wasn't available in the start of the season. He's coming back now. He was back against his former team, Alba Berlin. But, like, to be honest, that's a heavy loss because you're up by a certain amount of points. They make the comeback, and Alba Berlin, let's be honest, on paper, these are two way different caliber teams. So it's tough to see like the condition that Milano is in right now, but it's a process. It's a long season. Let's see if Messina tries to find a way to and finds a way eventually to make this team bounce back, because also in the Italian championship they suffered a heavy loss against Pesaro. So yeah, let's see how it goes.
In total contrast with Milano, the other Italian representative in the EuroLeague does pretty well.
Yeah.
Considering that they underwent the coaching change, that they didn't make any, big signing over the summer that would make some noise. Like, for example, I'm not saying that they didn't make, the signing equal to Nikola Mirotic signing by Milano, but they didn't get a similar star signing, for example, someone who someone would say that will make the difference on the team. But here we are, and Virtus is doing pretty good.
Yeah, especially on the other end, Milano has brought in a superstar in the EuroLeague like Mirotic. Virtus lost his superstar, which is Milos Teodosic. Because at the end of the day, Milos, the way he was received in Paladozza, he was, amazing. Like the fans love him, the whole city loved him, or at least the Virtus half of the city, not the 42 the fans. But yeah, that's the appreciation there. And Virtus is doing great. Luca Banchi is doing great. They only lost one game so far on 12 official games, if I'm not mistaken. Only one game against Žalgiris. They lost by 3 points after being up also by 15 twice in the same game. And Virtus is doing great because they have a leader in Toko Shengelia. Personally, I believe, despite a pretty easy schedule, we can say, in this EuroLeague, I think Shengelia is playing his best basketball in Europe since his career started, or at least like the levels, the first months in CSKA, or like the level top tier in Baskonia.
It's normal too, because there are no injuries, thank God.
Yeah.
Because he has been a player who has struggled with this, and he's practicing with the team fully. He had time to become Toko once more.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's doing like the leadership part in the best way possible. You have another veteran like Brian Dunston who joined the team and is doing an amazing job defensively also on the glass. Davonte Kakuk, the other guy who joined near the rim, is struggling a little bit, but with players like Dunston and Shengelia next to you, you can always grow. And the players who are shining mostly right now are Isaiah Cordigné. Is one of the best player in assist distribution of the team. It seems like he learned a lot of things from Milos, the way he passes the ball and the way he gets his
good teacher involved.
Yeah. And also Ife Lundberg. Let's face it, like Lundberg at the beginning of the season with that press conference by Scariolo was basically put away from the team. And now,
but then he was asking for a babysitter.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Bologna.
And now he
How
got
things
that
are changing.
babysitter. Yeah, he got that
Great.
babysitter.
Praise the babysitter for keeping Giffen Lundberg in Bologna. I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, like Ife is doing great off the bench, and Jalen Smith also joining the team. He's bringing versatility to Virtus alongside defensive-minded players like Paiola. Virtus is doing great. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so to wrap this up quickly, let's do some predictions, very small predictions about not today's game, obviously, of Milano against Maccabi, but their next game that's on November 2nd on Thursday. They host Monaco, and what do you make out of this game? Obviously, you have some additional information, some additional info considering how good they will play today. And if I'm not mistaken, Nikola Mirotic is also questionable, so we don't know whether his condition will change for today's game or Thursday's game. So what do you make out of this game, Milano against Monaco?
First of all, it's always interesting to see Mike James coming back to Milano.
Naturally.
That's always the topic. Also, the way Mike has been playing so far.
MVP season so far.
Yeah, like it's one of the best in Europe at the moment, and it's gonna be interesting to see him clashing against Milano. It's gonna be interesting to see whether like the heavy guarding position in Monaco clash against Kevin Pangos, basically Devon Hall and Stefano Tonuta, and not other high level players at the moment, because Milano is struggling on that side. Also,
and Jordan Lloyd is back. Let's remind this to everyone. EuroLeague debut for Jordan Lloyd against Milano.
And Jordan
season
Lloyd
debut.
back, so yeah. And regarding Mirotic, let's see how it goes. If he plays against Maccabi, if he makes it also for Monaco, but maybe eventually, this maybe sound harsh, but I think it could be interesting to see Milano without Mirotic for 1 or 2 games, in order to trying to get a better view of the whole situation. Because with Mirotic, you always wants to give him the ball, you always wants him to push you, and if you're forced to not having him, maybe you can try to come out with a solution. So it could be interesting to see on that side. But I saw Monaco like in a very good shape against Maccabi. Of course, Maccabi is going through a difficult situation, of course, at the moment, but Monaco was pushing hard against them, and I do see an interesting clash.
And Virtus has a golden opportunity, in my opinion, to extend this streak, considering that they face an FS squad that on paper should have been getting results, playing good basketball. Because they have the players to do that, but they are struggling. They were blown away by Olympiacos last week. They lost to Turkey as well, to Galatasaray. So Virtus, they're playing at home, so they have to make the most out of it in a way.
Yeah, like Virtus is playing at home, and for the first time this season, they're not playing in Paladozza, they're playing in Segafredo Arena. And also, this could be next to their heavy win on the road against Monaco. This could be the very first, challenging game for Luca Banchi's team, because at the end of the day, let's face it, they had the easiest double game week, with Zvezda having some issue internally with Dushko as well. We saw what happened after the game, him being fired, and they won against Alba Berlin 2 days earlier still in Paladozza, still in Bologna. So this one, after winning on the road against the new team of Gianmarco Pozzecco as well, this could be interesting to see. To be honest, I believe Virtus can make it against Efes, considering the problems that the Turkish team is having right now, and being pushed by way more fans than there are in Paladozza, because Segafredo Arena can reach 8K, 9K easily, while Paladozza is only 4 point, like
but it's smaller, more compact, and the noise has a different effect, right?
Yeah, it's a different effect, of course, but I do believe that they can make a good start in this new chapter arena season in Segafredo Arena. And if so, Virtus can go 5-0 in this season in the EuroLeague in this start. It would be simply, amazing by the way things were at the beginning of the season. We have to consider that this was Sergio Scariolo's team. It was not Luca Banchi. Luca Banchi stepped up, came in right after the World Cup, and he's making an amazing job there. So I do believe Virtus can make it.
Yeah, 5-1 start. It's enough to say that okay, maybe we have something good to fight for a potential at least playing spot, because that's, in my opinion, at least a realistic goal for Virtus this time is to fight for. Okay, everyone aspires to secure the playoff spot, but the playing, I think it's the realistic goal for a team like Virtus.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think we are good for our first EurohooPOD of the season. For now, we had a good conversation with Malcolm. We talked a bit about the Italian teams. A reminder for everyone that the next EuroLeague round 6, is taking place Thursday with a lot of games. Cervena Zvezda against Bayern Munich, Fenerbahce against Olympiacos, Zalgiris Kaunas against Asvel. Maccabi Tel Aviv against Real Madrid is suspended, will be played at a later date. And Valencia hosts Alba Berlin, another miracle team this season. Valencia, check out the article by Alex Molina on Eurohoops about their run so far. Milano, Monaco, we talked about it. And then on Friday, we have 3 games. Virtus against Efes, Baskonia under Dusko Ivanovic. Again, Dusko Ivanovic plays against Partizan. No, he didn't play this season so far.
No, this
season. Yeah,
season,
he didn't. So my mistake. It was Jan Sferopoulos who played against Partizan twice. Partizan won both games. They played at home also. So it's Dusko Ivanovic against Partizan. And if something happens and they win, I like to think the comments by Zvezda fans. Anyhow, and Barcelona against Panathinaikos. Let's see how Panathinaikos keeps that momentum from the big away win over Olympiacos in Greece. That's a wrap. Cesare Milanti.
Yeah. See you guys.
See you in a week from now. This is Adonis Strokilakis. Thank you everyone for listening to us, and we'll see you again in a week from now in the episode 2 of the EurohooPOD. Farewell.
Have fun.